Hey there guys, and welcome back to the channel. As always, thanks so much for clicking on this video and joining me as we dive into more 28 years later content. So this video is going to be very different from what we've recently been doing on the channel. In our recent videos, we've been taking a look at the marketing, we've been looking at like merchandise, fan questions and comments and theories and all that good stuff. But here, we're going to take a slightly different angle and we're going to be taking a look at the real world location of Holy Island. We're going to be diving into the top 5 features of the island that I found interesting. We're going to dive in, read off some facts, and get you guys better acquainted with the actual location so that when we go ahead and watch the film this week when it releases, we have a bit more kind of understanding of the location, the kind of the lore, the backstory, and it will add a little bit more to the world building. So, let's start diving in here. So by the way, obviously we have Paris down here, where in 28 weeks later, the virus reached Paris. That's where the movie ended. The virus was then kicked out all the way back to the UK mainland, and there's a heavily fortified kind of military presence along the coast here. And when you think about it, there's only about 20 miles across the English Channel here, from Dover to Calais, so the virus could easily jump back across. So that's a pretty scary thing, and it definitely raises the stakes, that's for sure. But first of all, so we're going to look at the location. So the top northeast of kind of England here, this is where Holy Island is actually located, for those of you who may not know. So let's zoom in here to where Holy Island is, and we can see where it's located off the actual mainland here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be checking out is the Holy Island Causeway. I've got these different kind of locations here, which I've kind of bookmarked. We may get to some extra locations after those 5 that I talked about, if we have time. But let's start off here with the Causeway. Obviously, this has been prominently featured within the marketing of the film itself. A major defensive kind of structure for the island. When the water floods over, it cuts it off from the mainland. Really interesting kind of location for them to film here. So let's read off a couple of facts while we take a look at some videos at the same time. I've got a video showing the tide encapsulating the road, and we've also got a idiot driver trying to drive through the water as it's kind of flooding over the road. So we'll check out those clips. But let's get to some of these facts here and start talking about what's going on with this causeway. The causeway is only accessible at low tide, and it is submerged twice daily by the North Sea. Safe crossing times are determined by tide schedules, which are prominently displayed at both ends of the causeway and online. The modern causeway was constructed in 1954, providing a more reliable connection to the mainland compared to the historic Pilgrim Way, a 3-mile route across the sands marked by poles. This ancient pedestrian route, still used today, follows poles across the tidal mudflats and is considered a unique pilgrimage experience. It takes about 90 minutes to walk, but requires careful timing to avoid rising tides, and is not recommended without a guide or local knowledge due to safety risks. The causeway submersion has led to frequent incidents, with 1 vehicle per month getting stranded due to drivers attempting to race the tide. Rescues often involve lifeboats or helicopters, and in 2025 a car was swept half a mile off the causeway, an unusually far distance. A refuge tower or hut is located along the causeway, providing a safe haven for those caught by rising tides. This is a critical feature as the tide can come in rapidly, making crossing very dangerous. The causeway leads to Holy Island, known as the cradle of Christianity, in northern England, home to the Lindisfarne Priary. The 1.8 mile causeway offers stunning views of the North Sea, tidal mudflats, and landmarks like Bamburgh Castle and the Farne Islands. It's a popular route for visitors, with 650,000 annually drawn to the island's history and natural beauty. So with that down, up next we're going to move to our second location, which we're going to jump into, which is going to be the Lindisfarne Priary. So if we go to fly to, then we're going to jump straight over here to the Priary, and if we zoom out again, we can see on the island the kind of location in relevance to everything else. It's just down here on the coast. So if we grab our little man and we jump into the Priary here, let's learn a little bit about what the Priary is about. Look at this beautiful, beautiful English heritage site, man. Part of the film, if this is shown in part of the film, it's going to look absolutely beautiful. The cinematography is going to look great. But let's dive in, check out some footage, and learn a little bit about what this place is all about. So, this site was founded in 635 CE by Saint Aidan, an Irish monk. Lindisfarne Priory is often called the cradle of Christianity in northern England. It played a pivotal role in spreading Christianity among the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. The Priary is infamous for being a site of one of the first major Viking raids in Britain. On June 8th, 793 CE, this attack shocked the Christian world and marked the beginning of the Viking Age in England, with monks killed, treasures looted, and the Priary damaged. Excavations, particularly in the 20th century, have uncovered artifacts like the Lindisfarne stone, a carved gravestone and evidence of early monastic life, offering insights into the Anglo-Saxon religious practices. The Priary's ruins, managed by the English Heritage, are a striking feature against Holy Island's dramatic coastal backdrop. The site includes a church, cloister and monastic buildings, with a rainbow arch, a surviving rib of the church's vaulted ceiling being a highlight. The Priary remains a spiritual focal point, drawing 650,000 visitors annually. Pilgrims often cross the tidal Causeway or follow the ancient Pilgrim's Way to reach it, especially during low tide, connecting to its historical role as the pilgrimage centre. Okay, so with that down, we're going to be moving on to our third location. So if we zoom out and we move across the coastline here, by the way, we have Holy Island Beach there. We may check that out towards the end of the video, if the video doesn't run too long. We have Lindisfarne Castle. So you know what? I would love to see a scene in one of these movies in the trilogy, right, where the Holy Island is overrun with the infected. The survivors, as a last-ditch effort, they move to the castle, and then they have to defend the castle. The castle is being sieged by the infected, like a medieval-style scene with bow and arrows and all that kind of stuff. That would be such a fun scene to play out. I doubt they'll do that, but, you know, I think it would still be pretty cool. But anyway, let's jump in. Let's take a look at some footage and learn some information and kind of backstory about what this castle was about, and just see what we can learn about it. The castle was built in 1550 during the reign of Henry VIII. The castle was constructed as a fort to defend against Scottish invasions, using stones from the dissolved Lindisfarne Priary nearby. It was part of England's coastal defences along the volatile Anglo-Scottish border. The castle sits atop Bedblow Crag, the highest point of Holy Island, offering panoramic views of the North Sea, Bamborough Castle and the Farne Islands. Its dramatic, windswept position enhances its fairy tale aesthetic. The castle has been managed by the National Trust since 1944, following its donation by Hudson's successor. It's open to visitors, with interiors showcasing a mix of medieval and Edwardian elements. The castle's striking silhouette has appeared in media, including the 1966 film Cul-de-sac by Roman Polanski and the trailer for 28 Years Later, though with CGI enhancements. It's also inspired settings in historical and fantasy literature. Okay guys, so up next we're going to move on to our fourth location. So if we zoom out again, we're going to move along to the left and we're going to be going down to this small island here called St. Cuthbert's Island. So this is pretty cool. I don't know if this will be featured in the film. It may not. I'm not sure if we've seen it in any TV spots or trailers or even any of the marketing, but it potentially could show up. There could be people on this island. It's just off the coast, and I mean, when the tide goes out, people will be able to easily access it. It could have some religious importance to the civilians living on Holy Island. But let's dive in. Let's take a look at some footage and see if we can learn a little bit of information about this small little island outcrop here. So, St. Cuthbert's Island, also known as Hobthrush, that's a really interesting name, was a favoured retreat of St. Cuthbert, a 7th century monk and bishop of Lindisfarne. He sought solitude here for prayer and contemplation, drawn to its isolation when cut off by the tide. Much like Holy Island, the island is accessible only by low tides via the short path across the sands from Lindisfarne Priary. It is submerged twice daily by the North Sea, requiring visitors to check the tide times and to cross safely. A simple wooden cross marks the island, symbolising its connection to St. Cuthbert. It stands as a focal point for modern pilgrims and visitors seeking a quiet, reflective space echoing the saint's lifestyle. Ruins of a small chapel or cell, possibly used by Cuthbert or later monks, are visible on the island. The remnants highlights its role as a place of solitude and worship in the Anglo-Saxon period. This tiny island, barely more than a rocky outcrop, offers stunning views of Lindisfarne Priary, Lindisfarne Castle and the North Sea. Its rugged, windswept setting enhances its mystical and tranquil atmosphere. The walk to St. Cuthbert's Island is short, about 5 to 10 minutes from the Priary. but the path can be muddy or slippery and the tide rises quickly, so timing is always critical. No facilities exist on the island, and visitors are advised to respect its peaceful, sacred character. So with that down, we're going to move on to our 5th location, and then towards the end of the video, also before we finish off, we'll have a little discussion about the actual village itself. We can't really not talk about the village, before we finish off the video. So the next thing I wanted to look at was this lookout tower here, which I thought was pretty cool. So if we grab our little man and we place him just down over here, and we have a look, we have the Lindisfarne Priary down here, which we've looked at before. Someone having a photo there, which is pretty cool. So yeah, the Lindisfarne Priary. Then we look up here towards the coastline. We have this pretty old school tower, this lookout tower here, which I thought was pretty cool to jump in, learn a bit more information. It would be a great defensive position. Whether it's going to be featured in the film, I'm not really sure. But anyway, let's jump in and see if we can break down a little bit of information about this lookout tower. The lookout tower, situated on the Heugh, a rocky ridge near Lindisfarne Priary, was originally built in the 19th century as a Coast Guard station to monitor the treacherous North Sea waters around Holy Island and for shipwrecks and smuggling activities. Positioned on one of the highest points of the island, the tower offers commanding views of the North Sea, the Holy Island Causeway, Lindisfarne Castle, and the Northumberland coast, including Bamborough Castle and the Farne Islands. The tower historically played a role in monitoring the tidal causeway, which is submerged twice daily. Coast Guards would watch for stranded travellers or ships in distress, especially given the causeway's frequent incidences. The tower is a modest, whitewashed stone structure reflecting its utilitarian purpose. Its compact design contrasts with the more elaborate Lindisfarne Castle, but its elevated position makes it a notable landmark. While no longer used an active Coast Guard station, the tower is maintained as a historical site and a viewpoint. It is accessible to visitors, offering a quiet spot to take in the island's dramatic scenery and observe the changing tides. The tower is an excellent vantage point for spotting wildlife in the Lindisfarne National Nature Reserve, including seals, migratory birds like waders or geese, and occasionally deer, which have become more active on the island. While less prominent than Lindisfarne Castle or the Priary in media, the tower occasionally appears in photography and travel writing due to its picturesque setting. It was indirectly referenced in the context of Holy Island's landscape in the 2024 Doctor Who audio story Escape from Holy Island. Okay, so with that information down about the lookout tower, that was our 5th and final location. Don't get me wrong, guys, there's so many other places we could explore on this island, but we're going to add one more bonus place. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom out here quickly. Let's get rid of that sign there. And then what we're going to do, we're going to come to this point here. There's a random drone shot overlooking the actual village of the island. It's a pretty amazing picture. So let's have a look at this image and we'll talk a little bit about the village at the same time. So actually over here, this is where we started with the causeway. So this is where Holy Island, the causeway connects to the mainland. That's mainland UK there, the causeway, and then we drive around this road here and it comes to the actual village here. Look at this drone shot. Isn't this like a beautiful, just a really nice shot of the village here? And this is where our survivors in the movie are going to be. It's going to look a lot different in the movie. It's not going to look anything like this, I wouldn't imagine, because they don't have electricity and they're kind of back to the Amish kind of stage of life with no electricity, no radios. So it's going to look a little bit different, I would imagine. And there's probably going to be CGI backdrops to make the island look different as well. But still, let's talk about the real world counterpart here. So obviously we have the Priary there as well, and we have the village. So let's talk a little bit about the village before we close off here. So let's dive into some of the key bits of information here about the village. So the village has a tiny resident population of around 160 people, fostering a close-knit community despite its size. It welcomes approximately 650,000 visitors annually, drawn to its spiritual and historical significance. So that's fantastic. I mean, a lot of people are drawn to this island. It's great for the economy, it's great for local business, so that's really fantastic to hear. Okay, going down. So we have, located next to the Priary, St. Mary's Church is the village's active parish church, with parts dating back to the 7th century. It serves as a spiritual hub and hosts services, concerts, and events connecting the modern community to its ancient roots. The local economy thrives on tourism, with quaint pubs like the Crown and Anchor and the Ship Inn, tea rooms and shops selling local crafts, mead and seafood, Lindisfarne mead, and traditional honey-based drinks, is a popular local product tied to the island's monastic past. So, surrounded by Lindisfarne National Nature Reserve, we kind of already know that. The village's unique setting has inspired art, literature, and media, including mentions of 2024 Doctor Who audio story Escape from Holy Island, and the trailer for 28 Years Later, which is what we're here kind of discussing. Its tranquil, timeless vibe attracts artists and writers from all over the world. The village offers a compact, walkable area with cobbled streets, stone cottages, and a peaceful atmosphere. So there we go, guys. That's kind of a breakdown of Holy Island there and some of the key components of the island. I mean, I know, like I said, there's lots of other places we could have explored, but I just wanted to pick the top 5 that I found interesting, and also have a little bit of a discussion about the village. I was quite surprised to find that only 160 people live there, but I mean, that's pretty cool. And there we go, guys. So a bit of an insight, a bit of a breakdown, description, a bit of the heritage of Holy Island. So going into 28 Years Later, when we watch it, we'll be able to pick out these landmarks. We'll know a little bit more about the backstory and the history of the place. So it just kind of builds that story in your mind, kind of fills in some of the details about the local area, and kind of heightens your experience when you go to watch the movie, and you can pick out these historical landmarks when we see it this week when it releases. With that down, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys sticking around. I know this is a completely different format, looking at the movie in a completely different way to what we've been doing recently on the channel, but I still hope that you guys have found this entertaining and intriguing, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this type of video, looking at the kind of history of this island and a bit of the detail here. So guys, before you leave, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you become a subscriber if you haven't done so far, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with more 28 Years Later. And don't forget to drop a comment down below as well. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say regarding this video, whether it's to do with anything to do with Holy Island or anything to do with the 28 Years franchise. Whatever it may be, leave your thoughts, comments, opinions, and theories down below. As always, I love to have a discussion with you guys in the comment section. And thanks so much for being here. And with that down, I will see you in the next video.